One central question remains for the WWE. And that question is, what in the blue hell happened to men? Now, the hater is a modern male, and the hater will always say it like it is. There is room for eccentricities in the presentation of a male, meaning that not every man is going to be Lashley or Brock Lesnar. I understand that different men are going to look different and that there is no one template for what being a man looks like. However, cuckolds, there is a template for what being a man is not. And more importantly, when I say man in this context, I don't just mean a guy with XY chromosomes, a guy with a cack between his legs. I'm talking about a masculine male, a role model, a superhero in many ways, because that's what wrestling's all about. Now, take a look at your screen. Do you see a superhero here, or do you see a crying little bitch? All right. Now, take a look at this. What about this asshole? Is this someone that's worthy of a superhero admiration? Now, take into account the fact that he's crying, but even if you were smiling and were displaying confidence, just look at CM Punk. He looks like a guy that works at a used record store or a guy that sells you Magic the Gathering cards, like secondhand, I mean. Now, nothing wrong with that. You want to play your Magic the Gathering? Oh, I cast Flaming Fireball. You do that. You go ahead and you do that, cuck. Nobody is saying anything bad about whatever hobbies you neckbeards might have. Just stay away from my hobby. That's all I'm saying. Now, with that being said, look at this guy. Does this guy look like a traditional male? Well, maybe on the left and on the right, he looks like a traditional guy. But in the middle, the warrior that we all know and love, 25 Reasons Why Warrior is great, coming soon, by the way. Look at the Ultimate Warrior, right? He's a little goofy. He's got long hair. He's got face paint. But look how masculine he is. You can just tell by his face that this guy isn't to be fucked with. And if that weren't an indicator enough, you could just look at his physique, right? One of the greatest physiques of all time in this guy. Now, he was also super cool and acted that way. Now, back to reality. Here we go. Cucky Rhodes, right? He's just an example. I'm not going to say that he's the only one. But in this company, as well as in AEW, we have a bunch of beta males coming out here and crying all the fucking time. All right? Jey Uso cried when he won the Intercontinental title. It ain't that serious, bro. As a matter of fact, I find it to be very weird. Like, Nicolas Cage doesn't break character when he beats up the bad guy in Con Air, John Malkovich, right? He just stays in character and the movie fucking ends. People breaking character is a big part of this because there is this acceptance of people breaking character that ultimately leads to wrestlers being forced to, or at least encouraged to, show their real emotions. Not everyone, right? So, for example, when Seth Rollins cashes in, I mean, he's a little girl himself, but when he cashes in, he's not out there crying like he achieved something. He's in character. He's laughing maniacally and telling the world that he did it again, right? Roman Reigns, same thing. It's only the good guys that break down and cry like little bitches, all right? Now, the central question that we need to ask is what happened to men? And how does this implicate the ever losing value of the WWE brand? Oh, hater, they made more money than ever. Yeah, I mean, if you have 7 hours of programming and 6 hours are commercials, and in the 1 hour that is not commercials, you still have commercials. Oh, there's Otis. I wonder what he had for lunch. Maybe he had KFC. Try the new KFC, like Nashville hot chicken sandwich. That's the kind of shit you get nowadays. So they make money by just squirting and extracting more dollars from the average viewer, at least from the perspective of the networks. But the networks are smartening up. Like Fox understood this really quickly. And in my opinion, the main culprit here is the inherent femininity of the men. What happened to badasses on TV? Every hero I see has some sort of internal conflict, is being a little bitch, is crying, or is otherwise coping with some shortcoming, right? Nobody wants to see this. This has been proven time and time again with massive bombs at the box office and on TV. People want to see greatness. People don't want to see themselves on TV, even if they are mediocre. The problem is that the mediocres of the world have decided that they need to be represented, even though they themselves don't want to see themselves. I'll put it to you this way. If the hater goes outside to the mall or something, right? Or he goes to Starbucks to get a coffee, he's going to see a bunch of regular ass motherfucks walking around. These people are a dime a dozen. They're fucking everywhere. And I don't want to see them when I turn on my TV. It is not any kind of resentment or hate towards these people, right? And it is not the fact that these people, like that the hater and others like me, don't want to see them represented. The reality is that the world, motherfucks, is not the TV and it's not the internet. The real world is out there. As the kids say once in a while, touch grass. If you do, in fact, go and touch grass, you're going to see a lot of regular ass people because these people are represented just fine in society. They are not exceptional, so you see them everywhere, right? And I'm not saying that exceptional is this low bar. Like the hater is not saying that the hater deserves to be on TV. You know, the hater is a regular guy, more or less. I mean, I like to think that I'm smart. I like to think that I'm talented and good looking. A lot of people think that about themselves, and good for you. But the hater, when it comes to masculinity, sure as shit is not the ultimate warrior. But I'm more masculine than fucking CM Punk and Cucky Rhodes, a guy who bleaches his hair like a little girl from the 80s. You know what I mean? The late 80s, early 90s. Nah. You know what I mean? I want to see excellence, motherfucks. If people want to go look at mediocre women, let's say, they can go to the mall and look at mediocre women all over the place, right? But if people want to see attractive women, they often turn on the TV or go to the internet or whatever the case may be, right? So I don't understand why this is something that has been demonized, right? You could see this, for example, in the Sydney Sweeney ad. People pretended to be outraged that someone said Sydney Sweeney has great genes. I don't even think she's that good looking personally, but I get the allure. And everyone pretended that this was some sort of slight against them. Well, if she has good genes, does that mean that I don't have good genes? Look here, inferiority complex person. Nobody gives a shit about that. Quite frankly, nobody gives a fuck what your genes are like. Both G's with a G and the G's with a J that you wear around your legs, cucks. Nobody gives a fuck. It's as simple as that. You know, this idea that people should care about mediocrity is a big problem. And it's only a big problem because it leads to more mediocrity. You would think logically that there are some men out there, right? That if Cookie Rhodes was told, look, kid, we're signing you back, but you got to man up a little bit before you get the title. He would man up. He would be more entertaining and he would be more attractive to the general viewer. Not sexually attractive to all you weirdos, but more attractive as a star, right? Imagine if you see, I don't know, Commando, a great movie starring Arnold Schwarzenegger. Then it's time for Terminator 2. But instead of Arnold, like the one that you saw in Commando, this Arnold has lost about 80 pounds of muscle and looks like Steve Buscemi, right? But doesn't have the acting chops of Steve Buscemi because he's Arnold, right? The movie wouldn't do as well because it's not believable that Steve Buscemi would come back as the Terminator from the future, right? If you're going to create a Terminator in the image of man, you're going to create him around someone like Arnold Schwarzenegger, not Steve Buscemi, not Kevin Hart, motherfucks. These people don't draw money the way that Arnold used to draw money. It's as simple as that. Now, a lot of people get pissed off. They're like, well, the hater seems to only like masculine men. Yeah, motherfucks. When it comes to masculine men doing masculine shit, I want them to be masculine men. It's really that simple. If the hater goes to fucking get his taxes done, which obviously the hater does his own taxes, but if the hater were to do the taxes by somebody else, right? I don't give a fuck what they look like. The hater's former accountant was this random broad from India. I don't give a shit. I don't even know what she looks like. She was good at her job, so the hater hired her to do the taxes. It's that simple, motherfucks. When I go to fucking Starbucks. I don't give a shit if the person that's giving me the coffee is a girl, a guy, a feminine guy, a transgender, black, white. I don't care about any of this. Who the fuck would? Just make my coffee, tell me have a nice day, and we can all go about our business. But the problem is people want to extend this to everything, right? The reality is some jobs, some occupations, some forms of entertainment are predicated around certain things, right? It's really that simple. For example, if you want to do something masculine, you got to have masculine men, or you can have an effeminate guy here and there if it's just to subvert the trope, right? Like, I like bare knuckle fighting championship, and like the middleweight champion, I don't think he's gay, but like if you saw him, or the welterweight champion, I forget his name, you'd be like, man, this guy's probably gay, right? And I think that adds to his presentation, because if it is a gay guy who's like undefeated, beating the shit out of people, that's pretty badass, right? It subverts expectations. But fundamentally, I want to see badasses. He's still a badass, right? That's what I want to see. Badasses. There's nothing badass about Cucky Rhodes. He's just this Ken doll type, right? And if you were going to take Cody Rhodes and you're asking yourself, hey, we need a new underwear model for Calvin Klein, yeah, pick Cody Rhodes, motherfucks, for all I care. I understand. You're not going to pick Stone Cold for that. You're not going to pick Kane to be an underwear model. You're going to pick Cucky Rhodes. Perfect. He can go model underwear, and the people that care about underwear models can be happy about it. And I'm sure they would be. You know, pick Finn Balor. I know that Otis is not going to be the underwear model. I know that Jacob Fatu is not going to be the underwear model. But when it's time to tell me that this guy is a good fighter, I need to at least believe that this guy is a good fighter. And I don't just mean that he's in shape and can do fake moves. He has to look the part. He has to look like a badass, motherfucks. I have to look at him and think to myself, like I do when I look at Kane, think to myself, there is no way in hell that I'm beating up Kane. There is no way in hell that I'm beating up Omos or Lashley or Lesnar, motherfucks, or even someone like Del Rio. He's big and strong, Sheamus, or even Rusev, right? We need men to present the masculine stereotype. It's really that simple. So Vince McMahon, obviously the genius that he is, understood this. A lot of people now are thinking to themselves, well, I took 1 week of jiu-jitsu and I think I can beat up guys. You know how many times the hater has heard, hey, I'm only 5'4", but I've taken down 6'5" guys. First of all, you're probably lying. Second of all, if you have, good for you. There's room for that too. I'm not saying don't have one Rey Mysterio, but you understand, of course, that that is not going to work in most cases. Like some guy was talking shit to the hater. I see that he's a YouTuber and he's some like fat dork, right? And in my head, I'm thinking to myself, if this guy spoke to me in real life and I was like 10 years younger, because now I'm mature, I'm not going to get into fights, but I would just throw this guy through a wall in 5 seconds. That'd be the end of that, motherfucks. And that's what I'm getting at. That's what I want to see in wrestling. I want to see someone like Roddy Piper throw someone on a wall, beat the shit out of Jimmy Snuka. I want to see Shawn Michaels do aggressive things like betray his partner and throw him through a wall. I don't want to see Cucky Rhodes and Jey Uso come out there, hug each other, and cry. And you know what? Like, the worst gaslighting of all time, with respect to this, is that people have been led to believe that this is not what everyone wants. This is what everyone wants. Like, it's really simple, motherfucks. If you like, let's just say, for example, I don't know, you like Commando, the movie Commando that I mentioned earlier, right? And if you watch Commando, you want to be Arnold. You don't want to be his fat ass opponent, which wasn't believable at all. You want to be Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? That's who you want to be. That's why an entire generation of men looked at Arnold Schwarzenegger and Ronnie Coleman and Hulk Hogan and other people like that and said to themselves, I'm going to go and lift a fucking weight on the off chance that I'll become like this guy, right? There was an interview that I saw. EC3 was saying that Triple H, like now that he's a cuck, it's weird because he was the role model for like people like EC3. He's like, I lifted weights because I wanted to look like Triple H, right? He had like a great physique. So that's what inspires people to do these things. But nowadays, people are not inspired by wrestlers anymore. They are inspired by the desire to be a wrestler. And then their role model is Vegeta, who gets his ass kicked Like every fucking 5 episodes, Vegeta is getting his ass beat by somebody. You know, ever notice that shit? You know, Vegeta, like he's like Kaiba from Yu-Gi-Oh! They just talk a lot of shit, then they get their ass beat, and then Yugi/Goku have to come and save their ass, right? How many times, like I was talking to my friends, how many times, like in Yu-Gi-Oh!, for those that have watched Yu-Gi-Oh! As kids, right? How many times did this happen? Like Mokuba gets kidnapped, and then Kaiba fucking sucks. He can't do dick, so he's like, Yugi, you need to help me, Yugi. And then Yugi's like, I will, Kaiba. And then Joey's like, yeah, not without me, you won't. And then afterwards, Joey and Yugi save the day. And Kaiba's like, I never needed you twerps anyways. It's like, shut the fuck up. You shouldn't have this much confidence for a guy who's like 1-8 in Yu-Gi-Oh! All he does is get his ass kicked. Like Pegasus beat him. Like his little brother beat him. Like everybody beats this cocksucker. You know what I mean? So what I'm getting at here is nobody wants a Kaiba or a Vegeta. We want Goku, motherfucks. We want Goku, preferably in monkey form or whatever the fuck it's called. People want heroes. Nobody wants the little twerp that gets his ass kicked. We want a badass. And if the badass gets his ass kicked, like if Superman gets his ass beat, which happens, somebody has to use kryptonite. Somebody has to cheat. That's the formula of wrestling. Now, that's one thing if you're Superman. You could fucking lift a ship with one hand and hold a black hole in the other. But if you're Cookie Rhodes, you're out there beating the Great Khali. Nobody buys that shit. People buy that Batista can do it, even though in real life, let's be honest, Great Khali would beat the shit out of him probably in 3 seconds. Oh, Great Khali can barely move. You don't need to move when you're fucking 430 pounds and 7'2", motherfuckers. Like, get over your little, oh, I learned in jiu-jitsu with this leg lock. That shit doesn't work with people that are 400 pounds. Like Dean Malenko with Sid Vicious. Fuck Dean Malenko. Oh, I'm going to do a drop toe hold. That shit doesn't work in real life. You know? In real life, what would happen is Sid Vicious big boots this jobber, hits his finish, and that's it. That's what we want to see. And it really grinds my gears, so to speak, when people don't take this seriously, right? They're okay with these beta males running around. You know, like it's not believable, motherfucks. You got like Daniel Bryan there. This guy like injures himself. Like, imagine what Brock Lesnar would do to him if he wanted to. He would cripple this guy in seconds. Daniel Bryan gets injured when people don't try to injure him. You know? And people are like, well, what if Daniel Bryan does the Buzaiku knee onto a chair onto Brock Lesnar? Yeah, or what if instead he does this and Lesnar just full-blown blasts him on the knee with a said chair, picks him up, F5s this jobber, and pins him with one foot. That's what should happen. What should happen is Brock Lesnar versus Kofi Kingston. What should happen is Brock Lesnar versus Ricochet, where Ricochet comes in there hubristically, and he's like, what if I beat Brock Lesnar, right? You won't, because look at you and look at Lesnar. And there's nothing wrong with being Ricochet. Just know your role and shut your mouth, motherfucks, because here comes the pain. See what I'm saying? What I'm getting at here is exactly that. We need more men in wrestling. Like, we have barely any men that fit the stereotype. Like, let me put it to you this way, motherfucks. When you have, like, I don't know, The Rock, right? The Rock was always made to look massive. You know? They'd put him with Michael Cole, who's small. They'd put him in front of Michael Cole to make him look bigger, right? They would use camera tricks. That's why Gene Okerlund is like 5'1", and they put him next to like Andre the Giant. And, you know, you're like, holy shit, Andre is massive, because he is. Now imagine all that, but done in a different way. Imagine all that, but now Byron Saxton, who is a rather large person, is interviewing like Seth Rollins. You're like, what the fuck? Byron Saxton would beat his ass probably. You know? It's not believable, motherfucks, that Seth Rollins is the world champion. Why? He has a technique. What technique? What technique? It's wrestling. Like, in no universe does Seth Rollins beat Brock Lesnar. You know what I mean? At least have someone that looks like he can. You know? Forget about the fact that Lesnar is like a legit combat athlete. Nobody cares about that, right? Like, nobody cares, for example, when Stone Cold is almost beating up Randy Couture in The Expendables, right? The character of Stone Cold is compared to the character of Randy Couture, they're equals, right? Because they're playing characters. Like Brock Lesnar is playing a character. Nobody cares that he's a UFC champion. In WWE, he's just Brock Lesnar. Otherwise, CM Punk would never like be competitive in anything because we saw how much of an athlete he really is. But nobody cares. but at least make it believable. No problem. Have CM Punk beat Kofi Kingston. That could go either way. I don't give a shit. But nobody wants to see that. The other people that are in wrestling would be wise to take advantage of this. That's what I've been saying about fucking Tony Khan. When WWE presents their champion as Seth Rollins, you give your title to Wardlow and have him wrestle Powerhouse Hobbs. And you establish that as the #1 world title because people can look at the champions. They can look at them and be like, holy shit, over here, we've got Powerhouse Hobbs, let's say, and over here, we've got Cookie Rhodes. I don't give a fuck if Cookie Rhodes is in the bigger company. Powerhouse Hobbs would murder him, right? That's what TNA did for a while. It didn't work out, right? Because WWE also had big guys. They had like Cena, Orton, Batista, right? And TNA had like, Kurt Angle, sometimes AJ Styles, Samoa Joe like once or twice. You know what I mean? But like, if they put the title, let's say, when WWE put the title on like, Eric Young, you know what I mean? Sorry, on Daniel Bryan, and TNA put on Eric Young, TNA should have been like, oh shit, their champion is Daniel Bryan. Okay, hire Omos. Find Omos before them and make him the champion. Because then nobody would ever believe that the WWE champion is superior to the TNA champion, right? That's why I keep advocating for someone like Moose to go out there and like be the face of TNA. Nobody has time for fucking Dolph Ziggler, motherfuckers. You need someone imposing and intimidating. And a lot of people, like, they bring some weird vibes to this. They're like, oh, Vince McMahon's obsessed with big muscular men with oily muscles. Nobody ever said that shit except for these weird people who then on the next sentence say, but Finn Balor is so good looking, I might even go gay for him. You know what I mean? This is the kind of people we're dealing about. Like, they think on that level, Vince McMahon just thinks, look at this fucking human being. He is like a man's man, So he's going to come out there. He's going to destroy Spike Dudley, whose role of a foil is to just make Brock Lesnar look good. And everything works out. 7 million people tune in. Nowadays, you have fucking like Cody Rhodes coming out there and he's going to eventually beat up Drew McIntyre. Unbelievable, right? No problem. Have Drew McIntyre there. Have him feud with people like Damian Priest. Have him feud with people like Omos. And then the counter argument to this is always going to be, well, Hater, the problem with that is that Omos doesn't know how to wrestle. So what? Nobody gives a shit if Cody Rhodes botches the Cody Cutter 4 times or 3 times in one match. Like, people act like Cody Rhodes is fucking Kurt Angle. You know what I mean? Like, he does the Cody Cutter. It always is a botch. It looks like shit every time. Like, somebody needs to tap him on the shoulder and say, bro, you're not athletic enough to pull this move off. Leave it to like Will Ospreay and Javon Evans. You can't do it, bro. You can't do it. Simple as that, cuck. So with that being said, I think it's important for us to take a stand one way or another. For example, like at this point, I know that he's gone. I know that Kevin Owens is gone. But I am going full boycott on this motherfucker. Like, it used to be just the promos, but now, if it's like Kevin Owens match, I'm fast forwarding that shit. Or if it's the main event, I'm turning it off. I don't give a fuck. Now, obviously, there are exceptions. If it's like Kevin Owens versus like, I don't know, the returning Kane, I'm going to watch because I like Kane. But if it's like Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn, that's like a double negative. I'm not watching that shit at all. And quite frankly, the same shit's going to apply for a lot of people coming soon, motherfucks. Like Solo Sikoa. What the fuck? It's like a fat guy. It's like a regular fat guy. You go to any video game store, you see 3 Solo Sikoas. This guy's like not intimidating at all, right? Like, they're like, oh, this is the champion of the street. What street? He's a fat ass, motherfuckers. The MFTs, my fat ass tribe. Call it what it is. Bunch of fat fucks. You know what I mean? Jacob Fatu, this guy, like, he does a moonsault. He's just a normal dude. Like, if you walk and you see this guy in the mall, like, you aren't going to think to yourself, holy shit, this guy would tear me apart. Oh, Hater, he's from the ghetto. Shut the fuck up. Enough of that shit. I don't believe any of that garbage. You know what I mean? Versus, if you walk in the mall and you see Kane, you're like, if this guy wants to right now, he could beat up everybody in this mall. Simple as that. Like, you actually believe that shit. With Kane, you believe it. With Fatu, you don't believe it. Now, if you are one of those people that argues that you do believe it with Fatu, then I'm sorry, but you've fallen for the trick. You've fallen for the lowered standards. Like, of course, obviously, if you're a regular guy, like a regular guy who doesn't lift or doesn't have any combat experience, yeah, probably someone like Fatu would beat your ass because at the end of the day, he does lift some weights, presumably, right? Like someone like The Miz would probably beat your ass because he is like a jock. You know what I mean? Like if you're a nerd, if you're a guy who was playing Yu-Gi-Oh at the lunch tables, and The Miz was probably the guy throwing into a locker. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, he'd still kick your ass probably. But we're not even talking about that level. Like, personally, I don't think the Jacob Fatu is worthwhile. But even if you do, how are you going to justify Sami Zayn to me? How are you going to justify the existence of Sami Zayn or Jimmy Uso? Like, in no world would I ever be intimidated by Sami Zayn or Jimmy Uso. Even if the kickback, it's possible. Sami Zayn might be like a badass fighter for all I know. I don't give a fuck. I'm saying I don't think he'd kick my ass. You know what I mean? Like with Kane, I have no doubts. I have no doubts. Like, you know what I'm saying? And that's how it should be. You should go there and you should be like, shit, this guy's a badass, right? And the same thing, you shouldn't ever have to wonder, wait a second, is like JC Jane attractive or not, right? Well, I don't know, right? Some people might say yes, some people might say no. Is Ruby Riott attractive or not? A lot of people seem to say no, you know? Like, you should never have to wonder that. It should be the most attractive women you can find that are willing to take a bump. Like, think about it this way. I'll put it to you this way. One of my favorite wrestlers of all time, legit, men or women, is Daphne. Rest in peace. You know what I'm saying? Daphne was never presented as the hot girl, right? Even though she obviously was an attractive woman. Daphne was presented as the weirdo. Now, if you took Daphne, if she were still alive in her prime, you know, and you put her in WWE, she would be like one of the most attractive women there. You know, she would have like a Stephanie Vaquer vibe. You know what I mean? But she's more charismatic, obviously, than Stephanie Vaquer. You know, she would be a massive star because she's competing with fucking Alba Fire. No disrespect, motherfucks, but I'm gonna say it like it is. Alba Fire and Lash Legend. It's like these women, no disrespect, again, they have no business being on TV. They're not good looking enough, right? It's as simple as that. And for some reason, people are willing to lower their standards. They're like, well, it doesn't matter if they're good looking as long as she can do a choke slam. No, motherfuck. That's why we have Kane. Lash Legend is never going to do a choke slam better than Kane. You know, we have Kane for the choke slams, and we have Lash Legend for like, you know, not Lash Legend, but we have like Eve Torres for shake your ass and do a moonsault, right? Those are the designated roles in entertainment. Now, you want to go and challenge them? Be my guest and make no money. You know, you have these movies. It's like Scarlett Johansson as like a badass, right? And like it takes me out of it. Now, if Scarlett Johansson has like a superpower, you know, like if it's like Scarlett Johansson and she gets injected with like, I don't know, the thing that makes Bane from Batman strong. Like if she gets the Bane treatment, fine, I can believe it. Make her look like Bane, all right, I can believe it. But if it's like regular Scarlett Johansson and she's like a trained operative, I don't give a fuck, motherfucks. And the hater knows. Deep inside my heart, I know there are women there, out there probably, that can kick my ass. I'm sure there's some, right? But I would never be afraid of any of them. You see what I'm saying? Even like China, you know? I'd never be afraid of China. I think I'd kick her ass, you know? Like me and my friends were watching UFC once, and one of my friends was like, you know, I think you can beat up Ronda Rousey, right? And this is when she was in her prime. And all my other friends were like, ha ha ha, no, you can't. And I was like, yeah, he probably can, motherfucks. He probably can. And that's all there is to it. We need men. But when all the men become women, all the women become men, right? Like it's more important for Charlotte to seem badass and more important for like Finn Balor to look good. This subversion of roles has gone too far, right? And that's fine. If that's the direction you want to take, be my guest, you know? But the problem with that is you're losing viewers left and right. So how about instead you go to the well one more time and you try the thing that worked for you in the past? I'll give you an example, and I'll end with this. There's a movie called Kingsman, right? The hater watched the Kingsman on in the cinema, in the theaters, motherfucks. I think I was in law school. I don't know if it was 10 years ago or not, but that's when I was in law school. But I watched it. I didn't know anything about it, right? And I don't like James Bond type shit. I think that's goofy, right? But this was James Bond-esque, right? And the young guy, right? He's like a kid. He's like a teenager, right? He's like 18, 19, maybe in his early 20s, right? So he's not like, he doesn't look like Kane, but he is a complete hero, right? Meaning he doesn't have these deep-seated insecurities, you know? And that's another part of this equation that I think is problematic, right? Like the heroes with insecurities. He's just a guy. He's like, yo, I'm here to save the fucking day. You know? Like, simple as that. I'm here to save the day. I'm just a confident guy. I'm going to do my best. And the movie was a massive success. A lot of people shat on it because we didn't have this complicated hero who doubts himself. Like every other pussy ass superhero. I don't know if I'm good enough. You're not. You're not, motherfucks. Like I watched like one of the Spider-Man movies. Like I don't watch superhero movies. Like the only one I watched in the last like 15 years. It was the one where like the whole movie, Tom Holland, who's a little twink, Tom Holland is out there trying to convince Robert Downey Jr. that he's good enough at being Spider-Man. Right? What the fuck is that? No, you have to get over that shit on yourself, right? And you have to be confident, especially if you're Spider-Man, because Spider-Man's all about that. You know what I mean? That's like the whole point. Peter Parker is like this nebbish dork. Then he puts on the mask and he becomes Spider-Man and he's all quippy and like hilarious, So that's what we need. We need to go back and we need to ask ourselves, motherfucks, what happened to men? Cuckolds?